Joe Pugh for the Boxing Voice, once again joined by the head of Sky Sports, Mr. Adam Smith. How are you, Adam?
Joe, I'm well, very excited about today. It's a cool announcement in a cool venue, and I think Ben Whittaker is going to, well, he's certainly got the potential, and I think he's got every ingredient necessary to become a real attraction, not just in boxing, but in sport generally. I think he's going to cross over. I think he's got that attitude, that charisma, that Marmite factor. People are going to love him, they're going to hate him, they're going to watch him. And I'm really excited that he is our final piece of Olympian business, and we can now close up our Olympic shop from Tokyo, and we can go forward with 5 fantastic athletes who I believe all of whom can go all the way.
100%, and it's not just the excitement for Ben Whittaker, boxer Sky Sports, it's Ben Whittaker, Sugar Hill, Steward link-up. Fantastic link-up. What did you think of that when you first heard?
Emmanuel Steward was one of the greatest trainers that's ever lived. I had the fortitude, I suppose, to spend many camps with Emmanuel, with Harold Knight, with Courtney Shand, obviously with Lennox Lewis. So I saw, and then with Vladimir Klitschko. So I saw the great man a great deal, a lot. I shared many interviews with him, and he was a special person. Sugar Hill, obviously, like Harold Knight, has learnt from Emmanuel Steward. He's done wonders with Tyson Fury. Ben Davison did a fantastic job, and you know what Sugar Hill has brought is the power and the aggression into the Fury game. And I think Ben Whittaker has always been a lover of the Kronk. My hero is Tommy Hearn, so I love that gold and everything that the Kronk brought. I'm delighted that Ben has linked up with Sugar Hill. I think it's a big statement. He's got 258 management with AJ behind him. He's got Ben Shalom, the best young promoter, entrepreneurial, fantastic team. He's got Sky, the best platform in the UK. He's got Sugar Hill, one of the greatest trainers now in the world, and obviously so hot with Tyson Fury. I just think, look, Joby Clayton and he have worked together a long time as well. I think Ben's put a great team around him. I think he's got, obviously, the charisma, the personality, the looks, the braggadocious attitude as well. But I think he's got the skill set in the ring, and I think he'll need to develop that from being a great standout amateur to being a really successful professional. It's going to be tough at super middle, at light heavyweight, big divisions, big shoes to follow. Talk about the likes of Eubank and Ben and obviously Calzaghe and light heavyweight. We've seen so many come through, and yeah, he wants to win the British title at 2 weights as well. I like Ben. It's been a dogfight to get him. It's been really tough, a real battle. And I mean, honestly, I've been messaging him, he's messaged me, then he doesn't for weeks, and then I'm thinking, we haven't got him. And there was a phone call we had a few weeks ago, and he just said, look, I just want to have an off-the-record chat, be honest with me. And I talked about Eddie's strengths, I talked about Ben's, I was just, you know, I like to see these fighters develop, and we're not going to get them all. Galal Yafai, Siobhan Clark, others have gone, the McCormacks have gone elsewhere. But I think the ones we've got are right for Sky. I think they can become stars, and they're very diverse, very different. Karis, Lauren, Caroline, Fraser, they bring different attributes to it. And I always thought that Ben was right for Sky, because if he wants to become a box office attraction, he needs to be on Sky Sports, on the back of the wave of football, the eyeballs, etc. So in that conversation, it was a very honest, open conversation. I'm sure Ben probably wouldn't be, Ben Shalom, be that happy with well, I told him about it, but it wasn't all about, you know, Ben Shalom's the best in the, you know, of course I was supporting my partner because Ben is going to be great, but he's, you know, it's a build. And Eddie obviously has had a fantastic time in the last few years with us. Frank Warren, there's other promoters out there. So I was pretty honest with Ben, but I did say that the place I think you should be is Sky. And that means that you go with Ben, who hasn't got the history, Ben Shalom, but he's got the skills, he's got the intelligence, he's got the passion, he's got the hard work, he's got the team around him, he's got the ability, I think, to really take Ben Whittaker on a phenomenal journey. And He's also he's only a little bit older, and they're in their 20s together, and I think that's important that the fighters can relate to Ben Shalom. So I just sort of, I had a chat like he was a young star who was just coming to me for a bit of independent advice. And we put the phone down, I thought, we're going to get him. And then about 2 weeks out, I thought, we're not. And it was like that. It was on and off. And I genuinely think he's made the right decision for him, for Ben Whittaker. Because this is going to be the Ben Whittaker show. Do you know how many people, when we got him up to our studio on Kell Brook night, and Brad Ray had just won by knockout in the first round, and he went, Brad Ray levels. And I thought, really? Wow. Marmite.
He's certainly a character. And I remember last year we was talking about Conor Benn as the next pay-per-view star. Next couple of years later, you're going to be looking for the next level of pay-per-view star, because as kind of British boxing, we have to build and push to the next Sky Sports pay-per-view star. I'm sure as head of Sky Sports Boxing, you're always looking for that next fighter. Do you believe that this is the man who can kind of push pay-per-view boxing on Sky Sports for the next kind of 10 years?
Hey, first of all, it's about Sky Sports Boxing. It's about giving as much as we can to the customers. It's very competitive at the moment with Dazn, with Channel 5, with BT, a massive show at Wembley recently. There's a huge amounts of competition, which, as I always say, is great for fighters and great for customers, for fans. But at Sky, boxing's massively important to us. Every year for 30 years, year in, year out, really important. And for me, it's about giving some great value for Sky Sports customers, like the likes of Eubank and Williams and Taylor and Cattrall, but then getting the sparkling nights on box office. Yeah, sometimes it's a Brook Khan type of night, sometimes it's a heavyweight AJ type of night, but of course we're looking for the next generation. Are they going to become box office stars? Only time will tell. Ben Whittaker has got the potential because he ticks a lot of boxes. He's good looking, he's arrogant, he's nice, he's sure of himself, he's confident, he's cocksure, he's different, he's going to have flashy ring walks, he makes his own music, he does all sorts of different things. So there's huge amounts of ability to cross over. That's why 258 have been attractive, that's why we are. He's got to back it up in the ring, of course. Let's see how we go. I think he's got the talent, and maybe we'll be sitting here in 2 years, 3 years time, and he's a box office star. But he's got to be built on Sky Sports. Ricky Hatton was built on Sky Sports. Carl Froch, AJ. We've got to get the timing right. It's fights and fights on Sky Sports at the right time of scheduling, off the back of football, utilising our arsenal, utilising the brands, utilising boxers' knowledge, our knowledge, and 258 and AJ to all work together to make Ben Whittaker a star. But also we've got Fraser, Caroline, Lauren, Karis. Don't forget Adam Azim as well. There's plenty of talent. Not all of them are going to be superstars. We know that. But they've all got chances. They've all got opportunities. And the 8 on Saturday night have got an opportunity to win 40k and crash the British cruiserweight scene. And who knows? Maybe there'll be an unlikely story that comes through. It doesn't have to be the Olympians. But of course, with the Olympians, they've had Rob McCracken around them. They've had the team around them. They've been, well versed. They've been well looked after. They've been fighting the elite around the world. So they've got a great starting point, haven't they? And I think that it was important for us to sign as many Olympians as we could. I think if you said to me a year ago, you'll get 2 or 3, I'd have been pretty happy. To get 5 of the caliber that we've got, with Ben as the final one, I'm ecstatic.
Definitely, and that was transitioned fantastically, might I say, into the boxer tournament at the weekend. Elsewhere on the Sky Sports schedule, we've had the Riakpur versus Turchi that's been rescheduled to June the 11th, I believe. It's been announced that you've got Haney versus Kambosos, thank you. And we've also got Joe Smith Jr. versus Baturbiev. Bumper stacked Sky Sports schedule. Quite reminiscent of February for a massive Sky Sports schedule. But you said that some months there's going to be massive months, then it might kind of not have some, but...
Exactly. You listen to me. You can't go every month. There has to be... We're not it's not a boxing channel. Okay, it's not Box Nation. DAZN have got boxing every week. we've got a plethora of sports. We know that the sun shines on us from time to time. So we obviously have to tick over. We have to, use our digital and social powers to keep talking about boxing. But sometimes you've got to go with the months. And we thought June was a great time, fantastic time. We've got, as you say, Devon Haney and Kambosos. I bumped into Devon in New York last week, and he's really excited. He was about to pack his bags for Australia. It's a tough fight. It's a hard fight. But he wants to fight the best. It's brilliant that we've got that. Of course, the light heavyweight unification as well. Very exciting, that in New York. So, sandwich in the middle. Trip to Wembley with Riakporhe, Lauren Price turning over. Fantastic. Can't wait for that. Chris Congo, I believe. And
fantastic fight against Formella.
Zach Chelli as well. Formella, Zach Chelli and Jermaine Brown. Great fights. So really excited. And more to announce. But it all kicks off again on Saturday night in Manchester. We had a fantastic time in Coventry. A wonderful night. Action all the way. Expect more Saturday night.
You mentioned bringing up fighters through Sky Sports, the biggest stars in British boxing. A fighter that you have brought up in recent years is Katie Taylor, and obviously she had a super fight against Amanda Serrano that take place on Dazn. What do you make of the comments of Eddie Hearn saying that he was a bit disappointed on Sky not pushing it as much as he would have liked?
I can understand it. He's got a point. I'd like to have maybe done it a little bit more privately. Joe Markowski and Frank Smith sort of reached out, and they were a bit surprised maybe that we hadn't. I think Sky had a camera at the press conference when they came over to London. We reported on it. I think the press conference hadn't started till, obviously wasn't there till the Thursday, and that was earlier in the week. So I think the social and digital team were waiting till they had content. Press conference weighing, I think then we reported on the fight as we should have done. But I was all ready to, I thought the same way. I think that absolutely we should have talked about it like we did. Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano was a huge fight, a massive fight in terms of so much in boxing. Katie Taylor, a pioneer on Sky. We absolutely adore her. We're all good mates of hers. We think she's a fantastic ambassador for sport, let alone boxing. And she's left us, and that's a shame. She fights on Dazn. Doesn't mean we don't love her like we did. Amanda Serrano, incredible fighter herself. A wonderful night for boxing. It was an epic fight. It was a fantastic fight, and I'm absolutely delighted for Katie. It's brilliant for boxing, and Eddie had a great week, and that's okay. That's cool. He's a great promoter, and he had a great week. We've also got to concentrate on Sky business. He did move his stable to Dazn, and I'm not sure how much he talked about Shakur Stevenson over in New York that week. Maybe he did, I don't know. I certainly talked about Katie Taylor when I was interviewed about it. But let's not get into that. He had his point, and it was a fair point. We've got to be talking about big fights like that, even if they're not on Sky, and especially because Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano is a huge fight for women's boxing and boxing generally, and obviously with Eddie and now with Ben, we're massive advocates of female boxing. Just look at our boxer stable with Tasha and Savannah and Clarissa and Caroline, and the Dimitri contact getting Clarissa, with Caroline, with Lauren, with Karis. Absolutely fantastic. Really delighted to be supporting, as I said, Katie and Brian and Tom Ash and Ross. They're all old friends of ours as well. Boxing's a small business. We wish Katie well. It was a fantastic achievement. I cannot wait for the rematch. I'm gutted I wasn't in the Garden, but obviously we're on Sky Business, and hopefully everyone talks about it in the right light, and we can move on from that little moment that Eddie had. But listen, it's fine.
Just a few more, couple of quick ones, Adam. Kell Brook announced his retirement, going out after a fantastic night in Manchester. What do you make of his career? And are you glad that he's announced his retirement?
I've known Kell since he was a 10-year-old boy in Winkerbank. He was absolutely fantastic for Brendan Ingle, for Dominic Ingle, for Sky. He never ducked a challenge. Brilliant night when he beat Kevin McIntyre in Scotland for the British title. I think that's never really talked about. He went over to America. He beat Sean Porter. Absolutely incredible achievement against a very good fighter. He never ducked anyone. He went up, fought Golovkin. He fought Errol Spence. He was a gladiator. Had eye trouble, and he had his big night when he beat Amir Khan his arch rival. I think he had to get rid of that scratch, get rid of that itch. I think it was burning inside him. It was a wonderful night for him in Manchester. He had other fights ahead of him on that performance, but you know what? He did absolutely everything right by announcing his retirement, and we wish him well. And we love Kell. He's always welcome at Sky.
Very quick, because okay. Cheers.
Okay.